NCAA Basketball March 6, 2018 12:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time March 6, 2018 12:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Sporting News picks teams from the past 3 decades that didn't deliver a title. Which was the best? Glad you asked. Find out. Use left to right buttons to navigate. Swipe left to right to navigate. Sometimes the team that didn't win it all is remembered more than the team that did. That's the case more often than not in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Since the tournament expanded to 64 teams in 1984-85, several memorable teams fell short of winning the national championship. Sporting News picked the best team from each year of the expanded bracket era that didn't win it all, then ranked those teams. One was an easy choice, but which teams came next? Who were the best teams that never won it all in the expanded bracket era? Here's a closer look. Getty Images record 34-1 that year's champion, Duke. Lowdown: this still might be the greatest college basketball team of all time. Larry Johnson, Greg Anthony and Stacey Ogmorn were all NBA lottery picks in 1991 for a team that averaged 97.7 points per game. Rebels reached the Final Four and faced Duke in a rematch from the 1990 championship game, but Anderson Hunt's three-point attempt in the final seconds missed. Duke shocked UNLV 79-77 and went on to win the national championship. Getty Images record 38-1 that year's champion, Duke. Lowdown: the Wildcats embraced the 40-0 talk under John Calipari and nearly achieved perfection after an unbeaten regular season. Karl Anthony Towns and Willie Cauley-Stein were almost an unstoppable force down low, and Andrew and Aaron Harrison kept the backcourt humming. Kentucky advanced to the Final Four before losing in shocking fashion to Wisconsin 71-64. Getty Images record 35-3 that year's champion, Villanova. Lowdown: the Hoyas didn't win the Big East, but the defending national champions rolled through conference champions St. John's 77-59 in the national semifinals. John Thompson and Patrick Ewing led Georgetown to its third NCAA championship game in 4 years in the first year of the expanded format, and the Hoyas were heavily favored to beat Villanova. The Wildcats, however, shocked Georgetown 66-64 in one of the biggest upsets of all time. Getty Images record 37-2 that year's champion, Connecticut. Lowdown: Duke's lone regular season loss came to Cincinnati in the Great Alaska Shootout, but the Blue Devils rolled from there. Elton Brand and William Avery led Mike Krzyzewski's only undefeated team in ACC play, and Duke won its first 4 tournament games by an average of 30.2 points before beating Michigan State 68-62 in the Final Four. Duke's run, however, came to a shocking end when UConn knocked off the Blue Devils 77-74 in the championship game. Getty Images record 34-4 that year's champion, Kentucky. Lowdown: Bill Guthridge's first team at North Carolina was loaded. Antoine Jamison, 22.2 ppg, and Vince Carter, 15.6 ppg, were high-flying studs on a team that finished number 1 in the final regular season at Pearl. The Tar Heels breezed to the Final Four before getting beat 65-59 by Utah, which lost to Kentucky in the NCAA championship game. Getty Images record 32-7 that year's champion, UCLA. Lowdown: Arkansas returned several pieces from its defending national championship team, including Corliss Williamson, Scott Thurman and Clint McDaniel. UCLA closed the regular season atop the Pearl. The Razorbacks escaped a 79-78 first-round scare from Texas Southern before reaching the championship game, where they lost to the Bruins 89-78. Getty Images record 31-5 that year's champion, North Carolina. Lowdown: the Fab Five returned as sophomores expected to win the national championship. Michigan survived a scare in the second round of the NCAA tournament when Jimmy King's tip-in helped beat UCLA 86-84. The Wolverines returned to the Final Four, beat Kentucky and faced North Carolina in the championship game. We all know what happened next. Chris Webber received a technical foul for calling a timeout Michigan didn't have in the final seconds, and North Carolina won 77-71. Getty Images record 34-2 that year's champion, Arizona. Lowdown: North Carolina and Kentucky were loaded too that season, but Kansas entered the tournament with a star-studded team led by Raf Lafrance, Paul Pierce, Scott Pollard, Jared Haas and Jacques Vaughn. Arizona, however, knocked off Kansas 85-82 in the Sweet 16. Don't feel bad, Jayhawks fans. Arizona beat North Carolina and Kentucky in the tournament, too. Getty Images record 37-2 that year's champion, North Carolina lowdown. The Illini missed out on a perfect regular season on the last day of the season when Ohio State's Matt Sylvester hit a buzzer beater. Illinois won the Big Ten tournament and capped an amazing comeback against Arizona for a 92-89 overtime win in the Midwest Region Final. The Illini advanced to the national championship game before losing 75-70 to North Carolina. Getty Images record 29-3 that year's champion, Maryland lowdown. The defending national champions opened and closed the season atop the AP poll. Three players averaged more than 17 points per game in Jason Williams, 21.3, Carlos Boozer, 18.2, and Mike Dunleavy, 17.3. Duke, however, suffered a shocking 74-73 loss to Indiana in the Sweet 16. What's worse, ACC rival Maryland later beat Indiana in the NCAA championship game. Getty Images record 35-4 that year's champion, Florida lowdown. Thad Matter took the Thad 5, anchored by Greg Oden and Mike Conley, to a 15-1 record in the Big Ten. Ron Lewis' three-pointer helped the Buckeyes avoid an upset bid from Xavier in the second round of the tournament, and Ohio State advanced to the national championship game. The Buckeyes, however, couldn't stop Florida's bid for back-to-back championships in an 84-75 loss. Getty Images record 38-2 that year's champion, Kansas lowdown. It's a toss-up this season between Memphis and North Carolina, which opened and closed the regular season as no. 1 in the AP poll. The Tar Heels lost to Kansas in the Final Four. Memphis, led by Derrick Rose and Chris Douglas-Roberts, drew the Jayhawks in the championship game. Mario Chalmers hit a last-second three-pointer to send the championship game into overtime, which Kansas won 75-68. App photo record 37-3 that year's champion, Louisville lowdown. The trio of Johnny Dawkins, Mark Allery and David Henderson helped the Blue Devils breeze through the ACC with a 12-2 record and finished number 1 in the final regular season app poll. Mike Krzyzewski reached his first Final Four at Duke. Louisville defeated the Blue Devils 72-69 in the championship game behind 25 points from Purvis Ellison. App photo record 31-5 that year's champion, Michigan lowdown. 2 words, Flying Illini. That's all you need, right? Nick Anderson, Kendall Gill, Kenny Battle and Lowell Hamilton all averaged double digits for one of the most crazy fun teams to watch in NCAA history. Illinois rolled through the Midwest region and faced Michigan in the Final Four, a team the Illini swept in the regular season. The Wolverines beat the Illini 83-81 on a buzzer beater by Sean Higgins. Getty Images record 37-2 that year's champion, North Carolina lowdown. The Bulldogs finally had a breakthrough year to the Final Four under longtime coach Mark Few. Gonzaga lost just 1 game in the regular season with a lineup that featured 5 players who averaged double digits. The Bulldogs breezed through the West region and made the championship game, but North Carolina ended the run in an ugly 71-65 title game. App photo record 35-1 that year's champion, Connecticut lowdown. Wichita State, coming off a Final Four appearance in 2013, entered the tournament with a perfect 34-0 record. 4 Shockers players, led by Clinton Early, 16.4 ppg, averaged double digits. Wichita State, however, was a victim to a brutal bracket that set up a second-round matchup with Kentucky. The Wildcats edged the Shockers 78-76 and advanced to the NCAA championship game before losing to Connecticut. Getty Images record 28-7 that year's champion, Arkansas lowdown. North Carolina opened and closed the regular season at no. 1 in the app poll with a team that added Jerry Stackhouse and Rasheed Wallace to go along with Eric Montross and Donald Williams. That group grabbed the no. 1 seed in the East region. The Tar Heels, however, were upset by Bill Curley-led Boston College in the second round of the NCAA tournament. Getty Images record 37-2 that year's champion, Indiana lowdown. The Runnin' Rebels averaged 92.5 points per game, led by Armen Gilliam, who averaged 23.2 points per game. UNLV tore through the West region and reached its first Final Four under Jerry Tarkanian, but the Rebels lost a 97-93 shootout to eventual national champion Indiana. Getty Images record 35-3. That year's champion, Duke Lowdown, Kansas and Kentucky both took identical 32-2 records into the NCAA Tournament, but Northern Iowa knocked off the Jayhawks in the second round. The Wildcats, led by a star-studded team that included John Wall, 16.6 ppg, and DeMarcus Cousins, 15.1 ppg, reached the East Region Final before getting knocked off by No. 2 seed West Virginia 73-66. Getty Images record 29-4. That year's champion, Michigan State Lowdown, the Bearcats finished the regular season with a 28-2 record, including a perfect 16-0 record in Conference USA. But disaster struck in the conference tournament when star power forward Kenyon Martin suffered a broken leg. The committee gave Cincinnati a number 2 seed in the tournament, and Tulsa knocked off the Bearcats 69-61 in the second round. Getty Images record 32-4. That year's champion, Florida Lowdown, the Blue Devils had a dominant scorer outside in J.J. Redick, 26.8 ppg, and inside in Sheldon Williams, 18.8 ppg, and that was good enough to win the ACC with a 16-2 record. Duke, however, caught the wrong team on the wrong day in the Sweet 16. LSU, led by Tyrese Thomas and Glenn "Big Baby" Davis, beat the Blue Devils 62-54. Getty Images record 35-2. That year's champion, Kentucky Lowdown, John Calipari's first Final Four team featured center Marcus Camby, who averaged 20.5 points and finished with 128 blocks. The Minutemen proved their worth in the NCAA Tournament by knocking off Arkansas and Georgetown in the East region. Eventual national champion Kentucky beat Marsa 81-74 in the Final Four. Getty Images record 30-2. That year's champion, Connecticut Lowdown, the Hawks, led by the backcourt of Jamie Nelson, 20.6 ppg, and Alont West, 18.9 ppg, finished the regular season with a perfect 27-0 record before losing the first game in the Atlantic 10 tournament. Joes recovered to reach the Elite Eight in the NCAA Tournament before losing 64-62 to Oklahoma State. Getty Images record 32-2. That year's champion, Kansas Lowdown, who could forget Mark Macon. The star guard averaged 20.6 points per game and led the Owls to the No. 1 seed in the East region, but Duke ended John Chaney's bid at the Final Four in the regional final where Temple lost 63-53. Getty Images record 34-3. That year's champion, Connecticut Lowdown, the Buckeyes, won the Big Ten with a 16-2 conference record. Jared Sullinger, 17.2 ppg, 10.2 rpg, dominated the middle, but he had help with William Burford, 14.4 ppg, John Dibler, 12.5 ppg, and Aaron Kraft, 6.9 ppg. Ohio State earned the top seed in the tournament, but Kentucky knocked off the Buckeyes 62-60 in the Sweet 16. Getty record 33-5. That year's champion, Villanova Lowdown, the Jayhawks had 4 players who averaged double figures in Perry Ellis, Wayne Selden, Frank Mason and Devontae Graham, and roared into the tournament as the top seed. But they lost to eventual national champion Villanova 64-59 in the Elite Eight. Getty Images record 31-3. That year's champion, Duke Lowdown, Stanford, led by twin big men Jason and Jaron Collins, finished 16-2 in Pac-12 play. The Cardinal rolled into the West Region Final before losing to number 3 seed Maryland 87-73. Stanford watched as rival Arizona advanced to the NCAA championship game before losing to Duke. Getty Images record 27-7. That year's champion, Duke Lowdown, the Hoosiers didn't win the Big Ten, Ohio State did, and they didn't get much attention in the tournament, the Fab Five did, but Bob Knight led Indiana through the West region as a No. 2 seed anyway, where they destroyed UCLA 106-79. 5 Hoosiers averaged double digits, led by Calbert Cheney. Indiana lost the national semifinal to eventual national champion Duke. Getty Images record 32-4. That year's champion, Syracuse Lowdown, Kentucky earned the No. 1 seed in the Midwest Regional after winning the SEC with a perfect 16-0 record in conference play. Senior guard Keith Bogans led a high-scoring Tubby Smith team that averaged 77.3 points per game. The Wildcats, however, lost to Dwayne Wade-led Marquette 83-69 in the Elite Eight. Getty Images record 32-6. That year's champion, Kentucky Lowdown, North Carolina appeared to be the team best equipped to challenge Kentucky and Anthony Davis. The Tar Heels lost 73-72 in Lexington that season and won the ACC with a 14-2 record with a team that featured Kendall Marshall, Tyler Zeller and Harrison Barnes. Marshall, however, suffered a broken wrist in a second-round win against Creighton. North Carolina beat Ohio in the Sweet 16 with some late-game heroics from Barnes, but Kansas knocked the Tar Heels out in the Elite Eight. Getty Images record 31-5. That year's champion, North Carolina Lowdown, Jamie Dixon put together his best squad at Pitt and Defawan Blair, 15.7 ppg, 12.3 rpg, proved the signature piece on this bruising team. The Panthers lost the first game in the Big East Tournament but still got the number 1 seed in the East region. Pitt advanced to the Elite Eight and faced Villanova, and that's when Scotty Reynolds punched his ticket in tournament lore with a coast-to-coast layup that gave the Wildcats a 78-76 win. App photo record 27-5. That year's champion, Lowdown, the Sooners appeared to be the stiffest challenge for UNLV heading into the 1990 NCAA Tournament. Oklahoma had 6 players who averaged double figures, led by Skeeter Henry, 17.3. The Sooners, however, were bounced in the second round by North Carolina 79-77. UNLV went on to beat Duke 103-73 in the NCAA championship game. Getty Images record 29-7. That year's champion, Louisville Lowdown, Indiana won a loaded Big Ten conference with the help of Cody Zeller, 16.5 ppg, and Victor Oladipo, 13.6, and that included a regular season sweep of NCAA runner-up Michigan. The Hoosiers needed a late three-pointer to seal a second-round win against Temple before losing to Syracuse in the Sweet 16.